Good morning. It's great to join you today from Ohio University's Southern Campus in Ironton with my fellow JobsOhio board members and management team, as well as invited guests and community leaders from all around JobsOhio's network, and especially our partner here in Ohio Southeast. We also have several elected officials and the representatives here today, too many to mention, but we appreciate you being here. I want to thank our hosts. Everyone here has been so helpful and so kind. We've heard so much great feedback about how nice everybody has been here, so thank you. I also want to thank all of our staff at JobsOhio, not just to make this happen, but each and every day you all work so hard and you're making a real difference. As I said at my first board meeting a few months ago, it's important that JobsOhio works for all of Ohio. And that means it needs to work for all of Ohio's citizens and all of Ohio's regions. So it isn't an accident that we chose Lawrence County and Southern Ohio to hold our fourth quarter meeting, so we could highlight some of the great work that is going on here and make others aware that we want to help and that we want to work with you. I'm particularly excited to talk more about our inclusion program that has supported so many businesses and communities around the state, and in particular here in this region. This is a program that emerged out of feedback we received from different communities on what people around the state wanted and needed, and it's great that we are being responsive to those needs. I was reading an essay my son wrote for school the other day, and he had a quote in there that I thought was somewhat appropriate. The quote was from his hero, Jackie Robinson. Robinson said, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives." We need to continue to make sure we are having a positive impact on people's lives, and we have committed to dedicate more resources to doing just that. We're going to hear from several small business owners about their personal experiences today and their thoughts on the future, and we're so glad that you all could join us today, and we're excited to learn more about your experiences. Thank you for being here. With that, we can move on to our agenda, and I think the first order of business is to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Any discussion or edits to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes of October 5th are approved. Our next agenda item is the President's Report. JP.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. It's my privilege to share President's Report, highlighting some of the very important work being accomplished by the JobsOhio team and our network partners who are with us today. Katie Farber from Ohio Southeast, Bill Kaler from our partners at Team NEO in Northeast Ohio, Mark Patton, Central Ohio, from representing One Columbus, Jeff Hoagland from the Dayton Development Coalition, Kim Lauterbach from Ready Cincinnati, and Dean Monsky from the Regional Growth Partnership in Northwest Ohio. We're grateful that you're here. We value your partnership. JobsOhio is a private economic development corporation and provides Ohio with a unique competitive advantage. Benefiting from visionary leadership from the DeWine Husted administration and Ohio's General Assembly, today Ohio is at the heart of an economic renaissance not seen in a generation, and the momentum is undeniable. Site Selection Magazine's Global Groundwork Index recently rated Ohio as the #1 state in America for economic development infrastructure projects from 2019 to 2023, a state-level ranking based on job creation, capital investment, other expenditures related to strategic infrastructure. Between 2019 and 2023, Ohio generated new job commitments of over 100,000 and over $60 billion of capital investment. Ohio is rated a top 5 state for doing business, is #2 nationally for mega project investment, #1 in labor productivity and GDP in the Midwest. And now, during a period of sustained economic headwinds, with announced deals down 35% across the country, as of this week, Ohio is number 2 in announced projects, number 4 in new job creation, and number 5 in new capital investment in the nation. Always required to produce a return on investment, JobsOhio projects have delivered a 12-fold return on investment for every dollar invested since 2013. All this while the JobsOhio team and our network partners continue to sustain a world-class customer service rating through the independent third-party Net Promoter. The work in Ohio Southeast with our partners, Katie Farber and her team at Ohio Southeast, are generating significant momentum as well. Payrolls, projects, and new jobs are all near record highs. Ohio Southeast was recognized by Site Selection Magazine in 2021, with 3 counties in the region ranked among the top 10 U.S. rural counties for economic development. In 2022, 4 Ohio Southeast communities, Chillicothe, Jackson, Zanesville, and Portsmouth, were recognized as top micropolitans for economic development. When I joined JobsOhio in the spring of 2019, one of my very first actions was to travel the state, along with our outstanding management team from JobsOhio, to hear directly from regional and local partners about what we could do better to support Ohio's businesses and communities. The input we received was abundant. You were not shy. During that listening tour, that feedback, combined with the vision of the DeWine-Husted administration, inspired the creation of our economic development inclusion strategy, an essential element of our 5-year strategic plan. The inclusion strategy provides new, customized economic development tools to support underrepresented populations and communities in every corner of our state. The great diversity of small and mid-sized communities and businesses are part of the very economic and social fabric of Ohio, and they provide our state valuable differentiation as we compete for capital investment and workforce in a rapidly changing world. When these communities and population groups succeed, all of Ohio prospers. After 3 years of implementation, we decided to head out on another statewide listening tour, which we completed last week. Over 10 days, 6 regions, 17 stops, we engaged with over 1,000 partners, community leaders, and with several companies that have utilized JobsOhio's inclusion programs. Their stories were incredible and inspiring. And as you heard from our chairman, we believed it was an ideal opportunity to share a little about what we heard with all of you this morning. And we have a video to play now.
The JobsOhio grant is a very integral part for businesses.
JobsOhio essentially say, yeah, you're worthy of this grant. Gives us confidence that, hey, you know, we're working on the right things. Our business is going in the right direction. We're doing things that people are interested in. I am an aerospace engineer. My business is focused on safely and reliably implementing 3D printing to the aerospace and defense technology. One of the most critical failure modes when it comes to turbine engines is fatigue failure from vibration. So we invented a vibration suppression part that essentially suppresses the chances of failure for that component by 95%. So the inclusion program, we leveraged some funds to expand our equipment capability. Every dollar matters for us because every piece of equipment that we work with is very expensive. We recently just submitted a patent for the first product sold out of Hyphen Innovations, and part of demonstrating that capability is equipment that specifically was purchased using the inclusion grant. It means a whole lot to me, especially seeing that we're only a year old. Usually it takes a while for people to notice you and believe in you enough to want to invest in you and help you grow. But for us, you know, a lot of things are happening quickly, and one of the things that happened quickly is this inclusion grant.
Baru is a gig platform for underused manufacturing automation. We sell products that we can make on other people's machines. It was all founded on this idea of how do you convert what someone has in their imagination, what they want, into machine instructions. We just launched like a Vistaprint e-commerce front end where you can configure your custom cabinets the way you need them, and it gets just translated into machine instructions on the back end. Ultimately, JobsOhio helped us build the software that we just released. For a small structure like us, $25,000 is meaningful. And so it helped pay for code writing. It also validated to our other investors that it's not just you that think that we're great, but also JobsOhio thinks we're great too.
Downtown Exchange is all about revitalization in downtown Zanesville. To build a food hall, it's not just a place to get good food, but it's a meeting place. It's somewhat of an example of what can be done in downtown Zanesville. The Vibrant Communities is about brick and mortar, hard costs, things you can feel. And so that backing gave us the additional funds to complete every step of that process. This building has all new windows, all new doors, all new electric, all new HVAC. The lighting, everything is just completed to 100%. It's allowed us to not have a shortfall in where we needed to end up at the very end.
Without this JobsOhio grant, I wouldn't be talking to people from Franklin County, Licking County, even as far east as the Pittsburgh market that are going, what's going on in your community? So the support of an entity like JobsOhio was critical in enlightening the investment community outside of our town.
The AKA team is a construction management company focusing on all different types of construction. We self-perform and we manage. I am very intentional about making sure that I help those underrepresented to get into this field. I'm in the construction industry, and it's not just construction on the field, it's the construction management, it is our marketing department, our media. We are building a great culture of folks that are talented in their fields and bringing them all together. So the JobsOhio grant gives us the ability to offer more positions, to get folks trained in the career of construction. We actually are working with a program where we are teaching young adults 18 to 25 about the careers in construction. It helps us grow to be comparable to the larger businesses, and it gives us the ability to be more competitive and to be able to provide jobs and careers and generational wealth for our community.
The inclusion programs have two primary goals. First, help grow small and medium-sized businesses located in distressed areas or that are owned by a person or group in an underrepresented population. And second is to drive investment and job creation into small and mid-sized communities that need an extra boost to realize their full potential. Since the three inclusion programs launched in 2020, JobsOhio, working closely with our network partners, has invested in over 460 projects statewide, with 423 inclusion grants to small and mid-sized companies, 20 catalytic vibrant community grants to support much-needed investments in struggling downtown districts of similar communities across the state, and 19 pre-project planning grants to help communities prepare for actionable and sustainable economic development projects with technical assistance. These projects have created over 2,200 new jobs and retained more than 7,400 at-risk jobs. More importantly, we're reaching communities and businesses that traditional JobsOhio programs were unable to support in areas of the state that previously lagged the rest of our state in attracting private investment. The JobsOhio Inclusion Grant supports businesses that fall within our targeted industry sectors. Most are homegrown Ohio companies that have opportunity to expand their operations, but may need additional assistance to take that business to the next level. While we've all seen and we all very much enjoy the amazing headlines announcing large projects like Intel and Honda and Joby and many, many more, Inclusion projects are smaller, but the impact is significant, and these investments create a ripple effect felt throughout their respective communities. And when aggregated statewide, they do impact our entire state. We're helping these businesses acquire new machinery and new equipment. We're helping them add jobs and provide employee training and upskilling that brings more disadvantaged Ohioans into the workforce. And as with every investment we make at Jobs Ohio, our inclusion grants provide the state with a strong return on investment. To date, we've invested $170 million in just over 460 projects, attracting $10 of private investment for every dollar from Jobs Ohio. And as you can see from the slide, the majority of the businesses that receive this grant are owned by women, minorities, veterans, or individuals with a disability. All recipients fall into one of our Jobs Ohio industry categories, and more than 50% are small manufacturers, with the second largest category being food processing and agribusiness. Ohio's small and mid-sized towns are in the midst of a renaissance, reinventing themselves after decades of chronic disinvestment and population loss to larger cities. We're seeing residents and business owners putting their savings to work and investing in placemaking to revitalize and give back to their communities. This resurgence brings energy and investment back into legacy cores, creating a place where people want to live and where businesses want to invest. The Vibrant Communities program is helping get these projects off the ground, bringing much-needed capital and planning to priority projects that catalyze additional investment. These projects have created and retained nearly 650 jobs and attracted $7 of private investment for every dollar of Jobs Ohio investment. And to date, we've invested in 20 projects. That's 20 of Ohio's most livable hallmark towns around the state, several of which are highlighted on this slide. And I'm pleased to report that there are 20 more Vibrant Community projects in our pipeline. This is really a renaissance of our small towns. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Jobs Ohio Vice President Terry Slabaugh, who will moderate a panel discussion with business owners and public officials who have received Jobs Ohio's Inclusion Program grants. Terry.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Patty Rawlinson, who owns Rawlinson Designs, Michael Bloom, who owns Your Bottled Water, and the Honorable Steve Patterson, Mayor of Athens. Patty and Michael have participated in our inclusion grant program, and Mayor Patterson has a Vibrant Community project. I think, Mayor, it was, I think we were just talking about it was 2 years ago when we had dinner and first started talking about the project. So, Patty, maybe you could talk a little bit about your company and what you do.
So my company is Patricia Rawlinson Designs. I started it 23 years ago in Portland, Oregon. We're located now in Gallup Place. We moved there 17 years ago. It's so weird. We currently have 19 amazing employees. We specialize in DIY, crafts, decor, gifts, office swag, and school fundraisers. We own 4 brands, and we host them on 12 online platforms in the internet, all that stuff. It's very interesting. I have one really cute brick and mortar boutique in Gallup Place, Ohio, so you guys can come visit us down there. We're certified EDGE, woman-owned, veteran-owned business. I already said 23 years ago. When I moved to Gallup Place, Ohio, I had 1 employee, and that was me. I was the shipper. I was the everything. I had to move so that I could employ people, because in Portland we had a lot of restrictions. Our customers are 78% women, 78% women, and range from 40 to 70 years of age. We ship all over the world, and we ship all over the world with products that are designed and manufactured in Gallup Place. And what I love the best about that is that as an internet business, we bring money from all over the world and we pipeline it into Gallup Place, Ohio, and then that goes to, support all the other small businesses that we have there. And then our suppliers are primarily located in Ohio and the Midwest parts of the country. So that's us.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Michael, the bottle business.
Bottled water business. Yeah. So my name is Michael Bloom. I'm originally from North Carolina, served in the military, and moved to Ohio thanks to my wife, who also served in the military. She's from Waverly. We moved here in 2006, and I started my business in 2008 as Your Bottled Water, and I was actually bringing in unlabeled bottles that looked similar to this and custom labeling for small businesses. From there, I expanded the business to include 5-gallon bottled water, coffee products, and water treatment. We were trying to take an approach of encouraging people to go for more environmental friendly options for clean drinking water. So 5-gallon jugs are reusable, or we can help you filter the water to a point where you can have the same quality water without lots of little bottles. There's always going to be a market for this, but we're trying to encourage people to go with a more environmentally approach. At that time in 2008, we were a distributorship. So we were buying products from other people and redistributing them. In just a few years ago, one of our primary distributors was bought out by a competitor, and it put us in a situation where we had to make some other choices, what we're going to do differently. So I decided to start bottling my own 5-gallon water. It was a big, big step. And so we're going from being a distributor now to being a bottler. And the next level is a co-packer, so I could be somebody that bottles for other companies like mine. The Job Inclusion Grant, the economic development people in Jackson County came to me and said there's a possibility we could help you get started out here. And when I took a look at it, it gave me the opportunity to buy some equipment that was out of my reach to begin with. So we actually were able to buy a steam distiller. I already had the equipment to make the other types of water, and if you want to know what I'm talking about, there's reverse osmosis, there's spring water, and there's distilled water. Distiller is very, very expensive, and that was out of my reach. But by being able to buy this piece of equipment, I was now able to attract other small distributors and offer them the products they were selling to their customers. So I got to go from being a small distributor now to being a co-packer. And we have 4 distributors that distribute our water. We have retail accounts, and we also do home and office delivery as well. So it was very fortuitous for us to be able to have those funds come to us and expand our operation and put us in a platform where we can start competing at a much larger level and grow our company in that aspect. So that's us in a nutshell.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, you want to talk about your journey with the Armory building in Athens?
And what a journey it has been. First of all, thank you, President Nassif. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the Jobs Ohio Board. It's an honor to be here and to kind of tell the Athens story. It started for me back in 1998 when I was a brand new faculty member at Ohio University, and recognizing that the city of Athens had purchased this gorgeous building that I call the crown jewel of Court Street, the Armory building. But there really wasn't a plan for what to do with that building. And when I got on council, city council in 2012, I kind of got to work at that point in time. So this has been a 12-year journey for me with the Armory. The building was purchased with really no plan other than not want to see it torn down because it's an iconic historic building, but also not wanting to see it turn into rental units or something of that nature. When I became a city council member, I kept looking at it saying, we've got to put this into use somehow, some way, and we looked at a sundry of different things. We thought we could turn it into a cultural arts center or something like that, and I recognized really quick that's not sustainable because we'd be competing with Ohio University and their assets. Then COVID hit. Thank goodness it was 4 years after I became mayor. I hate to think what the mayors who became mayors in 2020 were experiencing because it was challenging. But at that point in time, we saw everything is shifting with remote working. And it dawned on City Council and I that we've got an opportunity here to turn this building into something that could, at least a component of it, be a co-work, share work space. And we were dedicated to putting a fair amount of our ARPA dollars towards renovating that building. Again, the building was owned by the City of Athens, And I have to give a lot of credit to Katie Farber, Ohio Southeast, in a meeting that we had when we knew we were starting to build our capital stack. Again, a big thank you to Director John Carey, who's here today, with the Appalachian Communities Grants. We were successful in having that get into the funding to $2.5 million for the Armory, along with four other projects. But our capital stack was starting to grow. Representative Jay Edwards, we were able to get money into the cap bill for the Armory. The city had invested over $1 million into it already, not to mention the purchase of the building and weatherization of that building. But it was Jobs Ohio and Ohio Southeast, really Katie Farber saying, you know, here's some things you need to think about. You need to think, do you have a CIC? Well, the county had a CIC years ago and they dissolved it because of a sundry of reasons. And so we got to work and said, we've got to develop a CIC so that we have other levers that we can pull for the Armory and bringing that online. But we also knew that we had to continue to build the capital stack to get to basically the $5 million mark that we knew we needed to renovate this building. And thankfully, with the Vibrant Communities, again, a big thank you to all of you that was a reality that we are now experiencing. It will be the home to one of the larger philanthropics in the county. The Athens County Foundation will be an anchor tenant. Blue Dot, which is a new nonprofit, will be an organization that is basically managing operations and memberships within not only the co-work share workspace, but also the tenants that are going to be in that building. And then finally, it gives us that sweet spot for gathering spaces in the city of Athens where we're not having to compete with larger venues that we don't necessarily need. We were lacking in that space, and this venue will become that as well. But again, the lessons learned, Katie, I can't thank you enough for telling us these are things you need to think about as you're on this journey. And then please come and we'll talk Vibrant Communities, and we ultimately did. And Vibrant Communities brought us almost $1 million in funding to finally get us across that finish line. I'm proud to say that the Armory will be open this time next year. There's going to be a huge celebration. Hopefully you'll come down and join us again we won't have to break cinder blocks this time. This time instead, we're going to be toasting to the reopening of an iconic Ohio National Guard building that is being completely repurposed.
Thanks, Mayor. Patty, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about how you found out about the Inclusion Grant and what it meant for your company.
Yeah, so I want to say that the Inclusion Grant helped us in a couple of ways. One of them is with encouragement. Money is wonderful as well, but the encouragement of knowing that there were other people, all of you people that are here today in the last evening's meetings and stuff, were so encouraging, and that means everything to a small business to know that there are people that care. So money is also good. The team of the Southeast, Ohio Southeast, the economic development people in our community, the Ohio State MEP, that all provide like mentors that have reached out to us and have shown us different paths. I got my first laser because of the Ohio State people. The Ohio Southeast is the Inclusion Grant, so that everybody is very supportive, showing the way, same as you need some things, and they point it out, and it's like, oh, thank you. Let's see, I had a pivotal conversation with one of my employees in 2011 that demonstrated the need for livable wages in Southeast Ohio. She was struggling tremendously, and I was paying her what everybody in town paid their employees. And I made it my goal in 2012 that we would become the world's biggest stencil manufacturer, so go big or go home. But with that would give us the ability to provide sustainable, livable wages and opportunity for our employees. So that was my goal. Not crying. Okay, but to achieve this, we had to reach a broader audience, and we had to do it with more efficiency. And so with this grant, we researched and found 2 companies that would help us with our automation goals, and we spent $350,000. The grant was part of that money. And with this automation, we got state-of-the-art upgrades, and it took our most intricate stencil design, used to take us 20 minutes to cut. You can only sell one of those for $30, so it was like not sustainable to do it. It was a really cool stencil though, so I had to have it in the line. But it took it from 20 minutes down to 2 minutes, and so that is a huge, huge time savings. We also, our most popular designs went from 3 minutes of cut time down to 30 seconds. So the automation really, really helped. That one machine can almost run what my other 9 lasers in that position did in one shift and not 3 shifts. It's a very, very big step. The advancement in the automation has elevated our operator and designer skill set and brought a welcome increase in skills and wages to our Appalachia team. So we have increased our payroll for the new positions that we've created about 20–25%. So while all of the cost of living has gone up 30% in our area, we've managed to almost keep pace with that. And so that's all because of the steps that we've taken with this. So I appreciate it. And you guys, thank you for all your hard work. Really, a lot of work. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. I don't know if any of you have anything else to add, or just appreciate you participating in the panel and taking the time to come here today. And you know, you're part of hundreds of stories that have been created across Ohio through this program. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's so great to hear directly from each of you how these have impacted your business and your community. There are hundreds and thousands of these stories all over Ohio, and I'd encourage you to visit one of the vibrant communities, or if you have a business idea, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to live your version of the American dream, we consider talking to your associate here at Ohio Southeast or directly to us while we're here. Mr. Chairman, I've also asked Mr. Slaybaugh to give a report on the Ohio Site Inventory Program. Again, one of the new economic development tools that came out of the JobsOhio 2.0 plan, and one uniquely that it's also been able to add value in places around the state like Ohio Southeast to develop speculative sites to encourage additional inventory and investment. So Mr. Slaybaugh leads that program for us. I'd like him to give us a report.
Thanks, JP.
Thank you.
And thank you to the board. I wanted to, since we are in Southeast Ohio, I thought it was important to mention the sites programs that have touched Southeast Ohio in addition to the Ohio Site Inventory Program. And I was talking to the folks here at Ohio Southeast last night, the staff, just the transformation in the last 4 years of our ability now to show sites in Southeast Ohio. And a lot of that is through the Ohio Site Inventory Program, but also, as you heard from the Inclusion Grant recipients, there's also that extra benefit of interacting with us, the due diligence that we do on the sites, and the expertise that we bring to the table with our partners and the staff at Ohio Southeast. These are the programs that we provided funding for site development through JobsOhio, and so you can see we've invested almost $200 million in site development. We had pilot site redevelopment program that today is part of our 1.0 incentives, and that's to address gaps where we have brownfield development or redevelopment of a brownfield for a project. Southeast Ohio has had 2 initiatives, specific initiatives to Southeast Ohio. One was a due diligence program. We've done 17 projects in Southeast Ohio at a cost of $1.7 million, which means we've done due diligence in identifying sites and then doing the work to make that site a marketable site. We had the Ohio Southeast Spec Development Program, $15 million of investment on 5 sites in Southeast Ohio in the last 3 years. Sites like the one, JP, where we had the groundbreaking in Winchester, Ohio. a $3.5 million investment to create a development site there. And then, of course, we have the O-Site Inventory Program, which the board committed 5 years of funding to. We're in our 4th year. We now have done 93 projects through the program throughout the state. We've allocated $119 million for that program. I think what's impressive about the program has been the private investment and the response from the development community. You have to realize we stood the program up in June of 2020 in the middle of COVID, not knowing what the response would be, and the response was tremendous from the development community. We've leveraged over $1.5 billion in private investment now in those projects, developed over 17 million square feet of industrial space and office space in the state, and as I said, leveraged $1.5 billion and impacted over 7,000 acres of development. And often those projects will be putting a building in on a development site, but it also opens up infrastructure and roads and other things that are necessary and creates other sites in those developments. If you go to the next slide, I think you can see the result of a lot of those projects. They resulted in projects across the state. If you go to the next slide, you'll see some of the catalytic investments. If you look at up in the left corner, Lift, Beta, Joby, we installed funded infrastructure in Springfield. That led to the successful funding of a DoD development grant for the National Advanced Mobility Center of Excellence. And of course, that helped bring Joby to Ohio, and we all know the success we had with that project. We've also been able to impact things like cold storage, which became an issue during the pandemic. Orlando Bakery in Cleveland built a 600,000 square foot cold storage facility. And we installed a cold storage facility at Rickenbacker with the Columbus Port Authority. If you go on to the next slide, though, you can see the direct investment that we've made in Southeast Ohio over the last several years, $42 million into site development, almost 20% of our total site development spend over the last several years. And I think what's significant, again, is the amount of due diligence work. I think as we traveled down here for this board meeting, and as you travel around Southeast Ohio, you realize that flat land, contiguous flat land, comes at a premium. And so a lot of the due diligence work has really helped communities begin to shape sites in their community, identify the infrastructure needs. And with the All Ohio Future Fund now just a few months away, a lot of those sites now will be in a position to be able to apply for that money and infrastructure money. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Slabaugh. I appreciate the wonderful work you've been doing with this program and others in this region and all over the state. Before passing this back, Mr. Chairman, back to you, I want to express gratitude to you and the board for your unanimous support to continue to invest and even expand this program so it can continue to benefit Ohioans in every corner of the state. So thank you and members of the board for that support. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, JP. Anyone on the board have any comments for JP's report? Okay. Our next item of business are the committee reports. So let me start by saying our board and staff met for several hours yesterday. And by the way, I want to take a minute just to recognize again our staff here at JobsOhio. You all do such an unbelievable job, and I know you're working very, very hard each and every day, and it's great to hear from folks that your good work has impacted. And I know there's a lot more good stuff coming and a lot more to do, but I just want to say thank you because you really are making a difference in people's lives. So yesterday, all of our committees met, and they have also met during the course of the last few months. We use our executive committee to get updates from each of the other committee chairs, which we are going to do here in a moment. We also, and I know people are interested in this because I've had some people tell me, we are working very hard to nail down what the board calendar will look like in terms of our board meetings next year, so that you can all plan accordingly, and hopefully we will continue to see you at our board meetings. So we promise to get those calendar dates to you as soon as possible. I am going to turn it over to our chair of the audit committee, Lori.
Thank you, Chairman Rubin. The Audit Committee of the JobsOhio Board of Directors met twice this quarter, approving the minutes of each previous meeting as the first item of business. During the November 21st meeting, the committee received updates from management on finance personnel matters and presentations on various matters relating to the JobsOhio beverage system. At our meeting yesterday, the committee received the fiscal year 2023 Compliance and Control Review Report prepared by Deloitte, using procedures developed and approved by the Auditor of State. Representatives of both Deloitte and the Ohio Auditor of State attended the meeting. Deloitte's representatives described the processes and review standards followed and advised that for all but 3 of the 56 procedures, no exceptions were noted, and no material non-compliance from Deloitte's perspective was found. Staff from the Auditor of State asked for clarification on some of the procedure results, and the corporation's staff provided responses acceptable to the Auditor of State during the meeting yesterday. Committee members discussed the compliance report with Deloitte and the Auditor of State staff, and then unanimously approved a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023 Compliance and Control Review Report, subject to the minor revisions that were discussed during the meeting. When completed, the final report will be provided to the Auditor of State for posting on its website. The committee then reviewed the annual report on compliance activities from Senior Director of Compliance, Claudia Harrington, as required by the corporation's whistleblower policy for the benefit of the committee. Ms. Harrington summarized her detailed report, and committee members discussed its content in detail. Also yesterday, JobsOhio Controller Todd Bunsey provided detailed financial information to the committee for both the previous quarter and year-to-date, as well as detailed budget to actual reviews of expenditures and revenues for the same periods. Finally, Mr. Bunsey and General Counsel Don Grubbs provided a review of the strategy for renewal of the corporation's suite of insurance policies to be concluded by the February 1st, 2024 renewal deadline. And with that summary, I conclude my report, Chairman Rubin.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Okay, thank you, Lori. We will next go to Rick Platt, who is our acting chair of our compensation committee. Rick.
Thank you, Chair Rubin. On behalf of Dr. Jerry Sue Thornton, who is our chair of the committee, I'll present the report, abbreviated version of what we've got in writing. The committee met yesterday for our second time this quarter and began each with approval of the minutes of previous meetings and discussion of the committee's work plan for the remainder of the year. Also, at each meeting, the committee received and discussed commentary from our independent compensation consultant, Pay Governance. JobsOhio's Managing Director of Human Resources, Sheila Akins, provided updates on the corporation's various organizational initiatives, including a discussion of the corporation's paternity and maternity leave policy. And then finally, the committee engaged in extensive discussion on the annual recommendation of the board related to compensation of the employees of JobsOhio. That concludes my report, Chair Rubin.
Thanks, Rick. Any questions or comments for Rick? Jerry Sue, anything you would like to add?
Job, outstanding.
Thank you. Okay, next is the Investment Committee report. John Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee has been extremely busy in the quarter. including yesterday. It was probably one of the longest meetings that I can recall in the last 10 years. We met twice this quarter, on November 16th and, as I mentioned, yesterday. At each of the meetings, we reviewed and approved the minutes from the meetings. Our practice is to maintain best standard in record keeping. During the second quarter of the fiscal year, the committee reviewed and approved or recommended to the full board a total of nearly $32.6 million in incentives in 6 core economic development projects. The companies involved in these projects agreed to commit or have committed or to create or retain at least 2,024 jobs. It's a lot of jobs, with an associated payroll of over $190.2 million annually. Very importantly, they also agreed to make capital investments of over $488.4 million in Ohio, nearly $500 million. Also, during yesterday's meeting, the committee reviewed the preliminary sector targets for our 2024 business plan. We received an update on the Jobs Ohio Inclusion Program, which you've heard about more earlier from Vice President Terry Slabaugh. And we continued the discussion of appropriate management of the corporation's investment portfolio. We have a substantial portfolio, and we have a fiduciary obligation to make sure we're managing that to our best degree possible. Finally, the committee yesterday reviewed the quarterly reports from our corporation's outside investment portfolio advisor, Cardinal Investments, as well as a quarterly report on the very successful Jobs Ohio Growth Capital Fund, which is for venture capital commitments to new industries. Mr. Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you, John. Does the board have any questions or comments for John? That was a much faster report out than we had yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is new business. Do any of the board members have any new business they would like to discuss? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward and go around the horn here with closing remarks. Let me just maybe kick this off by saying I loved having the panelists up here today, and it's just great to see your passion, your emotion, and I hope you don't mind me calling you out here, Patty, but I got to talk to Patty very briefly last night. And she said she was living in Portland, Oregon, correct? And she said, we could have put this business literally anywhere in the world, and we chose Gallipolis. Now, how great is that? So thanks for choosing Ohio, and I hope that we have a whole lot more stories like that to share going forward. I'm sure we will. So let's go around the horn. Jerry Sue, if it's okay, I'll start with you, and please provide any comments you'd like to make.
Yes, I would, having attended the board meeting yesterday, I'm always interested in every aspect of Jobs Ohio and Jobs Beverage and what we're doing to make Ohio a better place. But as an educator, I always focus on our look at not only job creation, but also the talent development and the talent acquisition in Ohio, particularly throughout the state of Ohio, and how we are outreaching to communities and neighborhood organizations, civic organizations, as well as colleges, technical colleges, and universities. Christy Klaus gave a report yesterday that is near and dear to my heart as an educator as we continue to outreach into Ohio to find talent. And I guess I was particularly impressed with the idea of not only looking at our colleges and universities and challenging them to help us do better, but also looking into the community of those individuals who may not be working or transitioning or wanting to return to the workforce, and our efforts to reach out to them and encourage them to come back into the workforce in Ohio or start again or whatever they might do. So that report was near and dear to my heart, as I know all, not only Christy, but all employees of Jobs Ohio believe it's their job to help people get jobs. And so I'm always encouraged when I hear those reports.
Thank you, Jerry Sue. We'll go, Scott, you want to go next?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, JP. Thanks for a couple of great days here in the Southeast. Thanks for all the regional partners that continually come, no matter where the quarterly meeting is around the state, to always participate and make your way here. It's been a good couple of days. We've heard a lot about the economic headwinds. A lot of this was talked about in the last quarterly meeting, where, with inflationary pressures or cost of capital, sometimes businesses delay their decisions. And that's kind of what we've seen and learned about over the last couple of days. The good thing about it is sometimes that's an opportunity. So based on a few different factors, of course, the JobsOhio business model is proven. Looked at the historical results, a lot of the things that JP talked about. But it does create a competitive advantage in good times and in bad. We have the ability to invest. We have the ability to continue to execute no matter what the economic conditions are. So that's one important factor, but the strategy appears to have been working too. The team continuing to execute across a strategy that hits all market sectors, all the JobsOhio programs across the entire state. We see it in the results. That's something else that will help us going forward. And then finally, when you have a world-class team, those three factors combined is pretty powerful, which makes me very optimistic about going into the next year. I think that from what we heard from Dana and Andrew and team, that we might still be able to close out some of the deals in yet this year. But that pipeline continues to be historically high. The opportunities are still there. It's not like the opportunities are going to other states, and it makes for a really nice 2024 as this team continues to execute. So thank you very much for Ohio University for hosting us. This has been a great trip to the southeast part of the state, and really looking forward to a great 2024.
Thank you, Scott. Lori?
I agree. Thank you to our hosts. This was a beautiful facility to have the meetings in, and enjoyed being here yesterday and today. Just like you said, Scott, I mean, JobsOhio just continues to succeed on the economic development front, and thanks to the team for that. I mean, we heard yesterday, we heard again today, historically strong pipeline as we head into 2024. A lot of diverse projects. I think one of the big stressors right now, and I'm not immune to this as an employer in the state of Ohio. It's just, the labor market is extremely tight across the country and here in Ohio. And so I'm going to kind of pile on a little bit to some of the stuff that Jerry Sue said earlier. The past few days, and quite frankly, the past 2 years since I've been a board member, the JobsOhio's talent team continues to be extremely impressive. And what do I mean by that? They're being proactive. They're being innovative in their efforts to position Ohio on the national front relative to talent. And I think one of the things that they're doing that we heard a lot about yesterday is just leveraging the resources that we do have across the state, and then finding where the gaps are and filling those gaps. And I just want to say again, and reiterate what Dr. Thornton said. Thank you to Christy Klaus and the team for all the workforce development efforts that they're putting in. I think they've got some exciting tools that they shared with us yesterday in our meeting that I think employers are truly going to appreciate when they share those in the coming time. And I also want to say thank you to our marketing team. They're doing an excellent job. We heard about some exciting new upcoming campaigns that they're going to have in 2024, and just a lot to look forward to there. So just thank you again to the JobsOhio team and to our hosts. It's been a good couple of days. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. John?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I find it ironic. I think most of us know we're going to have this section of the meeting, so we put some notes together in advance. And I'll be the third board member that's going to talk about talent acquisition, which is extremely important. You've heard time and time again that we're literally leading the nation in new job opportunities. successful project landings over 4 years. And that's a huge change from 10 years ago before JobsOhio was created. We were probably in the bottom 10 instead of the top 10. But one of the concerns I have as a long-term board member is we create a lot of jobs and job opportunities, but as Lori mentioned, and as you've heard, you have to have the bodies to fill those jobs. You have to have the associates to fill them, or you're not going to be attracting them. And yesterday at our meeting, our long meeting, one thing that we reiterated, and it goes back to Christy Klaus's and her team's great efforts, is we've allocated $250 million over the next 5 years, $50 million a year to two projects, and two key areas. One is an incentive for people to move to Ohio from other places. We have a transition, a moving incentive that we can work with employers on. And that's a unique feature. I don't know that there's another state that has anything like that. And then we've allocated another $200 million of that 250 towards scholarships, free tuition, for lack of a better term, for associate's degrees. You know, many of these jobs that we're creating are very technically oriented, and you need to have a technical education. So we're doing our best to fill those jobs that we're creating. I think it's a great compliment, as you've heard, to the staff that we have at JobsOhio. It's world class. And again, thank you for these facilities, and it's been a great 2 days.
Thank you, John. Rick.
Thank you, Chair Rubin. Like John said, knowing that we're going to get the microphone, in between committee meetings yesterday, I took the sports coat off, put the safety boots on, and took a tour at Engineered Profiles. They're a company that 2 years ago announced they were coming to Lawrence County, and they're here in a very big way. It's a great, impressive success story. I didn't know how much it matches the theme of what we've been talking about today. For those that touch, they're a manufacturer. They do plastic extrusions. A dozen years ago, that maybe even less than that, this is work that would have been offshore. So I think they really fit an example of what's coming back. It shows that really how important local development, all development is local. So hats off to Ohio Southeast and Lawrence County EDC. They had a spec building. That's the first thing that Engineered Profiles went to. They found a bigger available building that they went to. That preparedness in advance is what made it possible for them to come to Ohio and to Lawrence County in particular. It also was an example of local impact matters. 50 jobs, that's what they're at right now. That impact in Lawrence County, there are places around the state when we look at our maps, you can see where the dots kind of concentrate. There are places 50 times bigger than Lawrence County and Ironton, and they'd have to do 2,500 jobs to match the impact locally that Engineered Profiles have. And so, I just never lost on me that local impact matters. And then lastly, we're all talking about talent and workforce. I was encouraged. They found Shawnee State has a ability to provide engineering talent to them. That it's just a win-win. Shawnee State is not having to create talent that's being exported somewhere else, but now being consumed here locally. And then they also, and I guess if there were local media here, they wanted me to share this too. They have more openings coming as they're installing equipment. And but they were encouraged with some recent openings. They had dozens and dozens of applications for their openings. So an encouraging sign that the workforce and talent equation is coming together. So I just wanted to share that story, but also echo my fellow board members. When you live in Southern Ohio, you might take for granted the hills and the natural beauty. I guess my coaching back to my friends in Southern Ohio is never take that for granted. Cousins of mine in Meigs County invited me to their hill overlooking Ohio River, and that's what I said to them. So I'm going to say to you too, never take it for granted. That natural beauty is just a draw, and really an asset for the whole state, but particularly for this part of Ohio. So thank you for having us.
Thanks, Rick. Well said. JP, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I want to make sure I thank the Ohio Southeast and all of you that joined us here in Ironton, and I was told it's pronounced Arnton. I'll make sure I get that right moving forward. Very hospitable, beautiful community. Looking forward to coming back, but thank you all very much. Heard a lot about, and we've been talking a lot about sustained economic headwinds. Ohio's no stranger to those headwinds. Well, we're no stranger to the downside that comes with those headwinds. but we also now have a very, very good track record of persistence, resilience, and a practical nature about us where we can endure through those. And just like we did when other states were pulling back during the pandemic, Ohio's going to lead. We're going to continue to be aggressive with our business development and outreach in our targeted sectors. We're going to launch new marketing campaigns to keep our homegrown talent right here, working in our expanding state economy, and to support the attraction of out-of-state talent that might not be aware of the wonderful product that is Ohio, and bring them here to fill the thousands of in-demand jobs that are both open today and are coming very soon. We're going to invest in workforce upskilling and reskilling. We're going to develop an inventory of shovel-ready sites for industrial facilities and innovation hubs to accelerate Ohio's world-class research and development. And we aim to put federal dollars and defense missions to work in Ohio by advocating and speaking with one voice, whether we're in Ohio Southeast or in Northwest Ohio. We're going to do it together, because when one of us wins, all of us benefit and win. We've done it before, and we have a multidimensional strategy built to maximize this generational opportunity that we've got. So, Mr. Chairman, this has been a very special meeting of Jobs Ohio's board. We've witnessed Southeast Ohio's beauty and heard from Ohioans who've expressed the impact that our assistance and programs have for them. And while some may call these anecdotes, I would call them affirmations. They represent the very essence of Jobs Ohio's mission and are representative of the more than 1 million Ohio jobs and businesses this organization has impacted since it was founded in 2011. It is a heritage of resilience and innovation for our state and a record of accomplishment for the dedicated Ohioans who make Jobs Ohio and our network partners a force for good. And I'm truly proud of the Jobs Ohio team and the Jobs Ohio's record of achievement. Again, thank you to our regional partners and all Ohioans working to build a more prosperous Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Any other items for discussion? Okay. Well, with that, I'd like to once again just thank everybody for being here. Thanks for participating. Thanks for what you do each and every day. And want to importantly wish all of you a very happy and healthy holiday season and a prosperous and healthy new year. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.